Wang Wang is a mixed breed stray, the kind of dog you'd find in almost any village in rural Guangdong province, China. She doesn't have an owner, she has something better, an entire community. In Pingpu Village, on the flatlands outside the city of Jieyang, a stray dog can go its whole life without anyone bothering to give it a name. But she got one. Neighborhood kids call her over with scraps of food. The old men on the corner feed her their leftovers. And she's lived this way for as long as anyone has known her. She's a new mom with 3 puppies, barely 2 weeks old. On the afternoon of June 28th, 4 boys she's familiar with walk up to her and her puppies. What they do next will be filmed and then uploaded for everyone in the world to watch, and it will horrify an entire nation. This is the case of Wang Wang. Somewhere else in Guangdong province, a woman opened that video at 2 in the morning and couldn't stop herself from watching it. It was an unbearable thing to witness and would cause her to lose a week of sleep. She wouldn't be the only one. By sunrise, the same footage was moving through group chats faster than anyone could delete it. And in every new chat, it started the same argument. Everyone watching already knew exactly who had done this. 4 boys, all under 14, all living in the village where it happened. The woman who couldn't sleep has only been identified in reporting using the pseudonym PL. She had a dog of her own, so it was something that felt a little too close to home. When the video reached her, she tried what most people never bothered trying, getting help via official channels. She reached out via government feedback line, made phone calls to the mayor's office, and contacted the education bureau. She wanted to know what was actually going to happen to the 4 boys who'd been able to torture Wang Wang and her puppies. What she got back over and over in different voices was the same vague response. They've already been sent to a specialized school. Nobody would tell her exactly what that meant. Accounts of what happened to Wang Wang on June 28th come down to 2 sources: the footage itself and the reporting that followed it, later folded into an outline drafted by the local government. It wasn't the first time they had attacked her. According to the residents, the same 4 boys, classmates at the village elementary school, had beaten her once before. Afterward, she'd carried her puppies to another spot in the village to hide. On June 28th, the boys found her again, and what they did is difficult to describe. They cornered her and her puppies in a concrete yard outside a house and split up. What followed lasted close to an hour. At least 2 beat her with long wooden poles, while a third wound wire around her neck and dragged her across the ground. She tried to shield her puppies, and both times the boys followed and caught up with her. None of the 3 puppies survived. They were beaten to death. One was struck again after it had already stopped moving. A second was killed the same way inside a nearby abandoned house. Then, while Wang Wang was hurt but still alive, the boys poured some kind of accelerant over her and set her on fire. One report claims one of the boys filmed the entire thing himself. Police had never confirmed who held the camera. Residents told the outlet Beijing News they'd known about the abuse since the day it happened. Some said the 4 boys came from difficult homes. Their parents were divorced or working away in other cities for months at a stretch. Nobody offered that as an excuse. They were grasping for some kind of explanation that could help them make sense of what they'd seen. Awareness of the incident didn't remain in Pingpu Village for long. The footage reached local group chats first. By June 29th, they had reached domestic social media sites, Weibo, Douyin, and Rednote, and they then crossed over to international sites such as Threads and YouTube. China's censorship apparatus moved almost as quickly. Posts vanished, accounts got throttled or suspended, entire discussion groups stopped loading. 2 days after the killing, on the morning of June 30th, one media outlet confirmed directly with the police in Jiedong district that a formal investigation had been opened. That afternoon, the Xinheng town government issued a notice that would end up defining the entire case. A task force had been formed, it said. Local schools had been told to step up student education. The boys' parents had been urged to fulfill their duties as guardians. The 4 young boys had been sent to a specialized school, a state-run institution built for children judged too young to prosecute, but too troubled, in the state's view, to leave at home. It isn't prison, and by design, it isn't supposed to feel like one. It's closer to a boarding school with mandatory moral and legal instruction folded into the normal curriculum, and movement in and out tightly restricted. The notice never named the boys. It never confirmed who filmed the video or where the accelerant came from. What it did do, with unusual precision for a statement that explained almost nothing about what had actually happened, was tell the public to stop spreading information about the case. To stop what it called online violence. A government that had offered almost no facts seemed to know exactly which questions it didn't want asked. But the main question, especially for those on the outside, was why hadn't any of this reached a courtroom? The answer lies partly in a legal change made in 2021. Since 1997, the minimum age of criminal responsibility in the country had sat at 14, the end point of decades of earlier rewrites that had slid the number between 12, 13, and 14. In 2021, lawmakers moved it once more, but only a little, and only for one narrow category. A child as young as 12 could be prosecuted, but only for intentionally killing or injuring another person, only in cases of extreme cruelty, and only after China's top prosecutor's office personally signs off on that specific case. It was an option developed for one very specific kind of horror that would come to pass just 3 years later. In March 2024, in Handan, Hebei province, 2 13-year-old boys lured a classmate to an abandoned vegetable greenhouse. They killed him with a shovel, then buried the body and split his money between them. A third boy learned of the plan only partway through the trip there, told by one of the other 2 while they were already on their way. The court found that the boy had seen the attack begin, but left before it was over. He was the first of the 3 to talk, and the one who led police to where the body was buried. When the ruling came down that December, the boy who struck the fatal blows got life in prison, and was stripped of his political rights for life. His accomplice got 12 years. The third boy was exempted from criminal punishment and sent instead to a corrective educational institution. That case cleared every bar the 2021 law had set: an intentional killing, extreme cruelty, and a sign-off from the country's top prosecutor. And it had worked exactly as designed. Except the law only covers violence against people. It says nothing about animals. China still has no national law against cruelty to animals at all, only scattered local rules pertaining to food safety, public order, and property. A dog an entire village fed, but no single person owned, doesn't belong to anyone in the eyes of the law. So even if a prosecutor in Jieyang had wanted to use the same legal tool a court in Handan had already put into practice, there was nothing there to reach for. 4 boys under the age of 14 tortured an animal to death on camera, on purpose, for close to an hour. And the honest answer is that nothing currently on China's books makes that a crime for anyone at any age. The specialized school wasn't a lenient add-on to some harsher sentence waiting behind it. In this case, it was the entire consequence. And Wang Wang's killing wasn't something that happened in a vacuum. Just weeks earlier in Chongqing, a 39-year-old man, the internet had already nicknamed the Sam's Club Bagger, was accused of the same kind of cruelty. His real name was Li Meng, and he would pose online as a caring, stable adopter, talking pet owners and shelters into handing him adult dogs and puppies. Once they were his, he would torture them. Several outlets reported, though police never confirmed it, that he specifically sought out nursing mothers and their newborn puppies, and filmed what he did to sell overseas. So it was something closer to a commercial operation than a single man's cruelty, if the reporting holds. After neighbors and animal volunteers reported hearing a puppy scream and confronted him about it, video and eyewitness claims began circulating online. And within days, a crowd outside his building had grown to hundreds of people. They were demanding an animal protection law that didn't exist. Police forcibly dispersed them. The man was eventually taken into custody, but only briefly, under a public order statute for property damage, the closest legal category available since no dedicated cruelty offense exists for authorities to charge him with. A scholar told a foreign broadcaster that China had been accumulating a kind of social trauma from cases like this, one after another, and that people were hoping Wang Wang's case would finally be the one that forced a change. By scale and duration alone, the reaction to her death would go on to outpace even the case of Li Meng's cruelty in Chongqing. The public didn't wait to find out information through official channels. Within days, names, photos, and family details attributed to the boys were circulating online. Some of it accurate, much of it impossible to verify. A lawyer quoted in Chinese media pointed out the obvious tension nobody seemed to be sitting with. Doxing minors is itself illegal under Chinese law, regardless of what those minors had been accused of. Unverified photos raised a real risk that other children in the village would be misidentified and dragged into a situation they had nothing to do with. One fact is documented rather than rumored, though. All 4 boys share the same surname in a village where family lines still run deep. That alone confirms nothing, but a rumor spread anyway of a family group chat belonging to the boys' extended clan, relatives allegedly pressuring each other to minimize the case and shield their own. A separate, unverified claim floated that the village itself was being informally shielded from outside scrutiny. Both remain, as the time of recording, unconfirmed, though the shared surname is the one detail that keeps the question from being pure speculation. The boys themselves were shielded by their age and by a government notice that never gave out their names. The city of Jieyang had no such protection. There were calls to boycott businesses tied to the region. At least one well-known beverage chain, rumored to source ingredients there, got pulled into the backlash as well. A city of several million people who'd had nothing to do with June 28th were facing potential difficulties because of the cruel actions of 4 minors. But the acts of protest wouldn't be restricted to China. In Taipei, a supporter known only by the initials CK paid to run Wang Wang's photo on a screen near the Taipei 101 tower. In New York, a Chinese woman living in the United States drove out with a handmade sign reading "Justice for Wang Wang" and photographed herself holding it beneath a jumbotron in Times Square. Those were 2 people out of what turned into hundreds. By mid-July, self-funded signs were appearing everywhere: outdoor billboards, a stadium screen during a Chinese Super League match in Dalian, as well as displays in Shibuya, Kuala Lumpur, and Toronto. A crowdsourced tracker eventually counted more than 240 locations, spread across every province in China, in addition to Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. A photograph of a dog nobody outside of one village had heard of a month earlier was now circling the planet. But one by one, the screens started going dark. Ads and murals came down in Guangzhou and Chengdu within days of going up. In Hong Kong, the local SPCA reported the video of the attack to the police and asked them to get it removed, arguing it would distress viewers and could inspire copycats. Campaigners turned on the charity anyway, accusing it of doing the censor's work for them, and the SPCA ended up apologizing and canceling its own annual fundraiser rather than fight the backlash. Even the people trying to help got pulled into the same undertow. The actor Du Jiang started posting on Douyin on July 5th, condemning the killing. His videos were removed 3 times, and he reposted every time. The actress Chen Qiaowen followed on July 14th with a single post on Weibo that disappeared within seconds, fast enough that the deletion itself briefly became its own trending topic before that vanished too. By late July, some of the people organizing tributes to Wang Wang were being visited or phoned by police and invited for tea. Now, this probably sounds strange to anyone outside of China, but domestically, its meaning is well known. It's a euphemism for having an informal chat with the police, not something put down on paper, just a conversation to let you know that the police are paying attention to your actions. It's a quiet warning, meant to end something without the police ever making an arrest. The authorities seem to be more focused on shutting down the story than solving the problem that allowed people to torture and kill animals with little to no legal punishment. But it's not for a lack of trying. A national lawmaker named Zhao Wanping has proposed some version of anti-cruelty or animal protection legislation nearly every year since 2017. Without any of them ever advancing. In the fall of 2025, China's Ministry of Justice opened public nominations for its 2026 legislative agenda, the way it does every year. A citizen-submitted anti-cruelty law proposal drew more than 4 million votes of support, an approval rate of over 96%, one of the most lopsided results the ministry had ever recorded. The support was not a huge surprise, as the vote had been organized by animal welfare accounts and mostly reached people already inclined to agree. Regardless of the support, it still didn't make the final legislative plan. And it wasn't an oversight. It was a decision. The actual bill moving through China's legislature that winter was a revision to the Public Security Administration Punishment Law, passed by the National People's Congress Standing Committee, effective that January. While it was being drafted, a University Animal Law Institute formally proposed adding an anti-cruelty clause to it. The proposal was turned down. The finished law expanded rules on dangerous dog breeds and dogs injuring people, protecting people from dogs, not the other way around. That same spring, a separate ordinance that would have protected companion animals in the city of Sanming, Fujian, was quietly shelved. Wang Wang's death didn't create the problem. It just made an old, well-documented issue impossible to ignore. And there are no signs it will change anytime soon. There will likely be no trial in this case, no sentencing, absolutely no ruling, nothing a court will ever see. Because as the law stands today, there was never a crime to begin with. What's left is a video that almost nobody who has seen it can forget. A stray dog whose time was cut short after she was burned alive by 4 children who knew her by name. Puppies that were beaten to death before they were even a month old. And a country now arguing with itself in group chats that keep getting deleted and posts that keep getting taken down over a question it has been putting off for a long time. What is an animal's life worth? Hopefully, for the sake of the other stray animals out there surviving on the kindness of strangers, this legal loophole will soon be closed. That is all for today. Thank you for watching.